Okay, hello everybody. Even though there's only me here, nothing unusual in that. No one joins my streams on YouTube. I understand why, boring old fart, nothing predictable in that. But I mean, I came here to just give updates on my TikToky, which of course are a lot more vibrant than my YouTube, thankfully. My TikToky, got banned as usual again. They always do. TikToky banned me quite a lot. Um, I literally believe that the last ban was because I mentioned the Cray twins. I think that was, what did it for them. I was talking about Islam as usual, but I had to mention the Cray twins at some point from my neck of the woods, and I think that's why they banned it. The other channel I've got is also close to being banned. One more, and that will be gone as well. And because both channels were donated to me, the other bloke's already said, he needs to still use this one for now. So I can't really use that one. But I'm in the process of getting a new number. And of course, once I get a new number, I will re-register a new TikToky account with the new number. Sadly, TikToky banned my last number. They literally banned the whole number. So I can't actually use the number. I've got to make a TikToky account or even the email, because they banned also the email as well. But I will go and get a new number, register it, and then, as I say, use that one to set up a new TikToky account. And then, of course, wait until I get the required amount again of peeps, so that then I can go live. And so I was just letting people know that's what's going to be happening, no one is coming in again. People are coming in and leaving immediately, which is not really surprising. That's exactly what happens. But it's such a shame, because there's so much I can teach people, even, people like David Wood and Sam Shamoon, and those types of people who, I mean, Christian Prince, I think I'm probably the only person who can't teach Christian Prince who taught me. He's my teacher. But there's a lot of other people out there who do this type of thing, and they can learn from me, because I do have knowledge, that they're unaware of, such as Surah 7:157. Now, I'm sure they're all aware that this ayah says Muhammad can be found within the Torah and the Gospel. But what I'm also sure of is that they're unaware how early Muhammad received this revelation. It was right at the start of his prophethood. He was a prophet for roughly 22 years. He got this revelation roughly after about 5 years. He was still married to Khadijah. He was still in Mecca. And I've been going through it all. I'm nearly got to the end of the last 10 chapters that he received while he was in Mecca, to find out how many verses state that the Bible was corrupted. I know in Al-Baqarah, 79 is one of the first ones they used, but that was a chapter he got in Medina. He didn't get that in Mecca. He got 7157 when he was still in Mecca. And so far, as I say, I've gone through about 70 to 80 of the chapters he got in Mecca, nearly all of them, and not one of them say the Bible's bad. All the ones that mention the Bible say how good it is, and there's nothing wrong with it. And of course, this then, it validates my last argument that I was using on 7157. Why didn't Muhammad go and check himself? When Allah told him he could be found in the previous scriptures, and had also been told those previous scriptures had nothing wrong with them, why didn't he go and check? And as I say, it becomes more important when you consider that after he got that verse, things started going wrong for him. Everybody turned against him. All the Meccan and all the Qurayshi tribe and all his family and friends turned against him, to the point where he eventually had to leave Mecca to save his life. Not just him, but his 100 followers as well. And all the time he's got the verse that can prove he's a prophet, but he never used it. You see? Now, as I say, when I was discussing it last time, one of the ones said, well, did he get a verse before that saying the Bible was corrupt? And I wasn't sure. So that's what I was checking now. And so far, as I say, after checking nearly every single one of them, no, he never. So he's still got a verse saying he can be found in the previous scriptures, and he still hasn't yet received a verse saying those previous scriptures are corrupted. And we've only got, as I say, literally, I'm down to now the last couple of years before he leaves Mecca, literally. So, there's the first point. The second, the next point is obviously, as I say, I went through the Quran in revelation order, and I mean, most of the surahs that were sent down first are towards the end of the Quran. And the reason, becomes quite obvious why the majority of those surahs are at the end of the Quran when you read them in their correct order. Because quite simply, they are rubbish. Every single one of them is complete garbage and not worth reading. That's why they're all towards the end of the book. The earliest one we've got, which is the second chapter to get revealed to him, is number 68. Surah 68, still well over halfway through into the book, and that's the first one we've got, which was the second one, 68. Okay, let's see some other. The next one is 73, and that was the third chapter. And he's put that at 73. And as I say, if you read it, you'll understand why, because it's complete rubbish. Apart from the first part where it says, you must recite this book in a rhythmic fashion, and the last verse, give all your money to Muhammad. Of course, when he's receiving those verses first off really early, there's no wonder they've stuck it towards the end of the book. Then you got 74, which is the fourth one revealed. The next one is 81. Then there's 87. Then there's 89. And then there's 96. And then all of them are 90, 92, 93, 94, 96, 100, 102, 103, 105, 107, 108, 109, 112, and 114. All these verses were the first ones revealed, all of them at the back of the book. And, as I say, I mean, again, there's another show I wish to do, which is on 105. 105 is the verse that says, the elephant army was beaten up by Allah's bird army. Allah's bird army dropped stones on the elephants, unalived them, and then ate them. Now, of course, and that's the surah. It's 5 verses. There's literally one sentence in each verse, which is another thing with the majority of these surahs. All of them are nearly always all the same. There's 5 or 8 or 9 or 10 verses in each one, with literally one line in each verse. Literally one line in each verse. As I say, if you don't believe me, go and check it yourself. 105, just one of them. Go and read 105 and look for yourself. 5 verses, literally with one sentence in each verse. Surely, why didn't Muhammad just put that in, one verse of 5 lines? Why did he have to have 5 verses of one line? But as I say, there's other verses throughout the Quran which I've come across, as I say, where it clearly states over and over, if you can bring one surah like this or better, then it's definitely not from God. And of course, I would like to put the challenge forward of people bringing a better surah than 105. the elephant army was defeated by Allah's bird army, dropping stones on them and then eating them. I'm pretty certain, that I've definitely come up with a better verse than this already when I read the verse out the first few times. The elephant army was defeated by Allah, closing down KFC and getting his fried chicken army to drop the stones on and then eat them. Personally, I think that's a better verse, definitely. But as I said, I'd like to open this up as a competition, because I think this could be a competition that could run, and we could involve children in this competition. If you have children at home, get them involved in it and writing their own verse better than Shura 105. And then, of course, when you post the results, just post the age of the child. Okay, nothing else. No other details, just the age of the child. So let's say the child was 6 years old. Okay, and so you put the verse that they've written, which is obviously going to be better than Allah's verse. I know that. And then just say this was from a 6-year-old or this was from a 7, so that we can all have a good giggle, And also, as I say, prove conclusively how false this book is. Because the book itself, as I said, if you can bring a better surah than that, then it's definitely not from God. And I'm pretty sure everybody is capable of bringing a better surah than 105. The elephant army was defeated by Allah's bird army, dropping stones on them and then eating them. Pretty certain that can be done. So, I mean, that's something new that I'm waiting to get onto to do with TikTok. Which is why I need to get a new number, which I will do. I'll get a new number, register it, and then get a new account. But of course, then it takes time to get it up and running. But I will do that because there's another one. I tried to do it last night, but unfortunately, I got the wrong shorter. Okay, I thought it was 3571. But unfortunately, my handwriting is so disgusting, even I have trouble reading it. And what it actually was 3971. But I'm pretty certain that the gentleman I was speaking to on this subject, he was a Shia, he knew exactly what verse I was talking about because I explained it to him in detail what the verse said, and so I'm pretty certain he would have known it was 3971 and not 3571. I mean, there's not a huge amount of difference there, is there? And basically, as I say, this is the verse that says, all the disbelievers will be driven to hell, okay, on the day of judgment. So Allah's going to come along, with his army of believers. This is why all Muslims are Uber drivers, by the way, as well. They're getting in good practice because they're going to be driving all the disbelievers to hell on judgment day, and Allah's going to be driving his bus and he's going to have special people on his bus. I hope I'm one of them. I hope I'm on Allah Lulu's bus. Because I mean, I've got more than one thing I'd like to say to this geese, but anyway, this is what 3971 says. And what you need to do as well, you need to use it in conjunction with 14:4. So you've got Surah 14 ayah 4, okay, which literally says everybody had a messenger sent to them that were from them that spoke their lingo. All right, they actually spoke their lingo, all right, to give them the message. So you use this verse 3971 in conjunction with 14:4. You read 14:4 first, okay. Every people had a messenger sent to them speaking their lingo and from them, and that's what 3971 goes on to say. After you've been driven in the bus to hell, okay, you're going to reach hell. They're going to open up the gates, and there's going to be doorkeepers there, and the doorkeepers are going to come out to you, and the doorkeepers are going to ask you, did you not receive a messenger that was from you? Now, the verse carries on to say the people would turn around and say, yes, we did. And so then they will be disbelievers thrown into hell. And this is the problem I had with this verse, as I say. Sadly, I got the wrong verse, which was a bit of a shame, as I say, even though I'm pretty certain the dude geezer knew which verse I was on about. But now I've got the correct verse. Yeah. Now I've got the evidence. Because, you know, personally, me, East End of London, you know, apples and pears, pie and mash, plates of meat, loaf of bread, God forbid, you know, all my lingo, Lady Godiva, you know, I know for a fact no messenger ever came to me from Alalulu speaking my lingo. Never. And I also know for a fact there are many other groups that did not receive a messenger from Alalulu that was from them speaking their lingo. For instance, the Aborigines in Australia. For instance, the Red Indians in America who used to communicate with fire and smoke rings. Did Alalulu send them a messenger and he made a fire and made smoke rings saying, Alalulu, worship Alalulu? I don't think so. And what about the deepest, darkest parts of Africa, where even still today we have tribes that I'm sure communicate in a lingalo no one else can understand? And, you know, even in my part of the world, the UK, I know there are parts of the world that I can go to in this UK land, you know, like deepest, darkest Scotland and deepest, darkest Ireland, where they will speak a type of lingo. I ain't got a Scooby-Dooby-Doodah what they're chatting about. You know, the Irish travellers. Have you seen me dag? Dag? What the hell is a daggy? Me dag. So when it comes to Surah 39, Ayah 71, all I can see is Alalulu's going to have a huge problem, because he's going to be driving thousands and thousands of people to the gates of hell. He's going to have all his Muslim Brotherhood driving all their Ubers to the gates of hell, full up with thousands of people, and they're going to get turned away at the door. Because when they get asked, did you not get a messenger that was from you speaking your lingo? They're going to turn around and say, no, mush. No messenger ever came to me speaking my lingo. You know, the Irish travellers are going to say, was this messenger a dag? You know, and Alalulu's going to say, what the hell's a dag? And so basically, what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment, according to Surah 39, Ayah 71, is all the disbelievers who are supposed to go to there and fill it up are all going to get turned away, because they didn't have a messenger that came to them speaking their lingo in their tongue and from them. So basically, you know, I've just disproved that Alalulu can never ever have Judgment Day until he fulfills his promise of sending a messenger to every single nation, every single group that is from them speaking their lingo. And he's never done that. Not to my knowledge, he's never done it. Now, when you go back in the Islamic narrative, they say, yeah, years and years ago, he did, you know, he sent one to the Babylonians, he sent one to the Persians. Who knows? Maybe he did. Maybe he did. I don't know. All I do know is today, and since Muhammad 1400 years ago, he never sent Nish. He sent Muhammad to the Arabs 1400 years ago, speaking Arabiki. Since then, he ain't sent none. And he said he ain't going to send no more. So guess what? Again, me in the East End of London, who came after Momo, speaking not his lingo, and he definitely weren't from me, I ain't had one. And guess what? Thousands and thousands and thousands of you all over the world can claim the same thing. All you bonny lasses up there in deepest, darkest Scotland, whatever lingo you happen to be speak of, you can also say, no messenger come to me from my people telling me about Alalulu. All those in darkest, deepest Ireland, again, you know, you can turn around and say, was this messenger a dag? So go, as I say, to the deepest, darkest parts of Africa, India, Pakistan, South America, Australia, you know, I mean, seriously, Iceland, Eskimos. Did the Eskimos in Iceland get a messenger from Allah telling them about Alalulu? And so, you know, basically, clearly, just from these two shores alone, 14.4 and 39.71, but mainly 39.71, Alalulu is a sham. He's not real. He can't be real. How can he be real when he says everyone is going to be driven to hell? All the disbelievers are going to be driven to hell. That's currently in the world today. You know, you're looking at 34 billion people or plus, you know, 60 odd billion people or plus. They're all going to be driven to hell in his special bus, you know, and his special Ubers. And every single one of them is going to be asked the same question. Did you receive a messenger from you speaking your lingo? If you say yes, then that's your pass into hell. That's your ticket into hell. And the bouncers will allow you in through the door. If you, like me, say, no, mush, no messenger came to me talking about my apples and pears and my mince pies and my lady godiva and my loaf of bread and my plates of meat. Not one of them. What you on about, mush? And likewise, I know there will be billions and billions and billions of other people who will also be able to say the same thing. And that means Alalulu's going to have to stop Judgment Day, put it back another few billion years until he sends messengers to everybody, speaking their lingo from them like he said he would do. He's literally going to have to abrogate Judgment Day. He's abrogated most of his Quran. Alalulu is now, because of 39.71, going to have to abrogate Judgment Day. Oh, great, isn't it? This book is brilliant, you know. As I say, and that's you know that's the next topic that I want to do when I get my new TikTok up. 14.4 and 39.71. Now, of course, if there's other, you know, Christianity apologists out there, any of my brothers and sisters, most of whom dislike me intensely for some reason that I really don't know why, and you feel that, you know, that you know, this is a good topic and you can do it, fine, use it, go with it, run with it, and do it before I get my new TikTok account up. I haven't got a problem with that. It's all for the love, you know, and the glory and the power of the Lord Jesus Christ. So fine. Like I say, 14.4 of the Quran, 39.71 of the Quran. Quite simple. You're a disbeliever. You don't believe in Alalulu, but because you've never had a messenger come to you that has been from your people, speaking your dialect, don't forget, that's most important. Dialect is most important because in Islam, they have dialect. They've used it themselves to get round the fact that they have billions and billions of different Quran. Oh, yeah, that's because everyone in Arabici spoke a different dialect. So it had to be sent down in different dialects so everyone could understand it. So we can also have our own dialecto. Doesn't matter if you speak Inglo, you know, you got Brummie Inglo, you got Manchester Inglo, you got South of England Inglo, you got Scottish Inglo, you got Irish Inglo, and you got Welsh Inglo, as I've already stated, you know, and that's just the ones you know, that I'm sure there are many, many other Inglos that I'm not even sure of, you know, like I said, and my special Inglo East End of London, you know, mince pies, plates of meat, loaf of bread, rub-a-dub-dub, dog and bone, Adam and Eve, apple and pears. I can categorically state no messenger was ever sent from Honolulu talking about my apples and pears and my Adam and Eve. Do you believe? Do you, Adam and Eve? Do you, Adam and Eve, Honolulu? I know Adam and Eve, mate. I don't know who this Honolulu is. You know, and as I say, this is the same thing the world over. There is going to be millions and 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 millions of people who get off that bus that Allah is driving to take them to the hellfire, who's going to turn around and say, no messenger ever came to me speaking my lingo from my peeps. Thousands and trillions and billions of them. And so that means, according to 3971, they're not going to get into hell, because it clearly states in order for you to get in, you have to say yes to that question. You have to say, yes, I did get a messenger from my people, speaking my lingo, speaking my dialect. Then you get in. If you say no, you're not getting in, because you've said no. You haven't had a messenger. Allah is going to have to postpone Day of Judgment until he sends you a messenger speaking your dialect and your lingo. Oh, abrogate the Day of Judgment. Seriously, you know, how can you get a better title than that? Allah is going to have to abrogate the Day of Judgment. Oh, I can't wait. Seriously, I can't wait to do this. I mean, all I am, you know, sorry about is that the first attempt that I did get to do it, I mucked it up by getting the wrong verse. And that is, you know, that was something that I was deeply ashamed of, because if I'd have got the right verse to begin with, you know, everyone could have seen how just these two verses. I mean, there's many more, obviously, that you can use to destroy Islam and Honolulu and Muhammad, you know, but just these two literally do just totally blow it out the water, you know. 3971, all the disbelievers will be driven to the hell. The doors will be opened. The gatekeepers will ask, did you not receive a messenger that was from you? And they will say, yes, we did. And they will be let into hell. What happens if you say, no, I didn't receive no message? Because Momo is not from me. Momo doesn't speak my dialect. Momo doesn't speak my lingo. I never heard him once say, I'm going up the apple and pears, mate, on me plates of meat. Not once did I hear him say that. And so, you know, as I say, according to 3971, come the Day of Judgment, Honolulu's going to have to let me into Jannah, because there's only two places you can go, hell and Jannah. There's not going to be anywhere else. And if you're not allowed to go into hell because you didn't have a messenger, you're going to have to go to Jannah. So according to 3971 of the Quran, I'm going to Jannah as a disbeliever in Honolulu, and I'm going to get my 72 Oris. Oh, classic, classic. Imagine all the Muzzies' faces when they see all the Christians and Jews being allowed to let into hell, and all the atheists, because they never had a messenger sent to them. Or as I say, the other option that Honolulu's got, of course, because he's God, you know, he's quite capable of doing whatever he wishes, is to abrogate the Day of Judgment. Postpone it, put it off, you know, make a new date for it, years later, while he then gets busy sending messengers to everyone else. You know, all the Scottish, all the Irish, all the Northern English, all the East End Londoners, you know, all the Red Indian Indians, all the Aborigines, all the tribes in deepest, darkest Africa, you know, all the different patois in India, you know. And how long's that going to take him? Seriously, it's going to take him thousands of years. So he's going to have to. He's going to have to postpone the day of judgment and, you know, do it in another 2,000 or 3,000 years later. Oh dear. And then he's going to have to, of course, write thousands of more books and send thousands of more messengers. And guess what? That destroys Islam as well, because apparently there ain't no more after Momo. So literally, he can't even have that choice of abrogation and making a new day. Literally, his only two choices is to let all those disbelievers who never had a messenger go into Jannah. That's it, Alalulu. You got no choice, mush. You're going to have to allow me to come into Jannah, mush. Oh, I love it. You know, I love these things when I come across them in the Quran. And of course, once I've seen it, you know, I realise straight away what a huge boobaloo this is. And how great this is, you know, and how many other different directions it can go in. And yet it still totally destroys Islam and Alalulu, which it does. You know, two simple verses, Surah 14, Ayah 4, and Surah 39, Ayah 71. Okay? 39:71 is quite clear. You were going to be driven to hell, okay, as a disbeliever. All those people who disbelieve in Alalulu, come the day of judgment, you are going to be driven to hell. Some of us will be driven in the bus, as I say, obviously. Some will be driven in the coach. Some will probably be driven in the train, you know. Some will be driven in the car, you know. Some special people will probably be driven in the aeroplane and the helicopter, you know. And then a few poor souls will probably have the rickshaw and the push bike, you know. But it still says the same thing. All the disbelievers will be driven to hell. Come the day, okay? When they get there, the doors will be opened by the gatekeepers, okay? The bouncers, the doormen of hell. And those bouncers and doormen will ask all the people, did you not get a messenger that was from you? In other words, i.e., with 14:4, he spoke your lingo, he spoke your dialect. If you called a dog a dag, he called a dog a dag. Yeah? Exactly the same. He wore all your garbo, everything. Exactly the same as you. No diffro. And it then goes on to state that everyone will answer in the affirmative. Yes, we did. Now, of course, if that's true, and everyone can honestly say, yes, I definitely got a messenger from Alalulu who was from my people. He spoke my dialect, he spoke my lingalo, he wore my clothes alow, he ate exactly what I ate, pig and bacon, then they are going to be allowed to go into the hell because they answered, yes, we did receive the messenger. Yeah. Can you see the huge problem with this verse now, people? What about the people like me? And I know I'm not the only one. Billions and billions and trillions of others who will turn round and say, no, I never ever had no messenger from Alalulu speaking my dialecto, speaking my lingalo, dressing like me, eating like me, from me, telling me about Alalulu. And then I got to thinking, well, what happened? They can't be allowed in because it's already made quite clear in the verse. The only people who are going to be allowed in are the ones who answer, yes, I did get a messenger telling me about Alalulu, but I just ignored him because I thought he was as loopy as Alalulu was. They're the ones who are going to be let in. What about the ones who say, no, I never got no messenger? Obviously, you can't be let in because you didn't get a messenger. And 14.4 clearly states that everyone will get a messenger. And 39.71 also makes that quite clear, that everyone is going to get a messenger. That's why it says that everyone will answer yes. Guess what? There's going to be billions and billions and billions of people who's going to say, no, I never got no geese coming to me telling me about Alalulu. Are you talking about that Arabiki geezer who had sex with camels and had a sex with a little 5-year-old child and spoke only Arabiki? Is that who you're talking? Is that the geezer who's supposed to come from the East End of London? Because I guarantee you, mate, he ain't come from no East End of London. Because if that Momo had come from the East End of London, he'd have been chopped up into little tiny squares as soon as he jumped on 5-year-old Aisha. The very first time he touched her, he'd have been chopped up into little squares. There'd have been nothing left of him. Literally, it'd have been pig food. Basically, there's no better way to get rid of a human than feed them to the pigs. Group of pigs, 5 to 8 pigs, will eat a human corpse within weeks, and everything, teeth, bone, everything gone. Piggy eat everything, mate. And that's what would have happened to Momo if he'd have come to the East End of London, jumping on 5-year-old children, jumping on camels, and speaking about some Alalulu and give you all his money and give you for Alalulu as well. It'd have been chopped up so quick, turned into pig food so quick, it'd have been gone within 2 seconds, mate. The old piggy would have ate him within 2 seconds. And then we'd have chopped up the piggy, turned them into bacon roll, and we'd have eaten the piggy. Bye-bye, Momo. No more Momo. Basically, as I say, easy way to destroy Islam. 14.4 of the Quran, we sent messengers to every single nation that was from them speaking their lingo, and 39.71. Everyone who is a disbeliever will be driven to hell on Alalulu's special bus and his special Uber. When you get there, the gates will be opened by the gatekeeper and the bouncers of hell, and they will ask you, did you receive a messenger that was from you? I.e., he spoke your dialecto and he spoke your lingolo. So if you're a Mason, those Mason dudes, they communicate with special handshakes and special hand signals. That's how the Masons communicate. Are you telling me, Alalulu, that you sent a messenger to the Masons with a special handshake and a special hand signal to tell you about you? Are you telling me that you sent a messenger to the Red Indians who made a fire and then spoke to them with smoke rings? Alalulu, Alalulu, worship only Alalulu. Deepest, darkest Africa. No idea what sort of lingolo some of those tribes speak in deepest, darkest Africa. I'm perfectly sure, though, there weren't no messengers who went to them telling them about Alalulu in their, tongue from them, with bones through their nostrils. Pretty certain there weren't. you know, the Aborigines, you know, I mean, I could go on and on and on, as you know, with all the different groups. Prison, you know, prison, you have a special lingo for prison. They do it because obviously all the letters that you send a prisoner are all open and read. And so, of course, if you want to send a prisoner a letter where no one can understand the message that you've actually put in that letter, you have to do a special lingalo. So they use special lingalos. I've known people who've spoken backwards. Every single word they've spoken it backwards without fault. And they've gone sentence after sentence, speaking word after word backwards without fault. And guess what? You can't understand a damn word they're saying, but they understand each other because they learned how to do it. You know, I mean, seriously, you got so many other different, and so 3971 out of the 60 billion million people on Allah's special bus, I think 59.5 billion of them are all going to turn around and say, no, mush. We never got no messenger speaking our lingo from us. No, we never. And as I say, I can pretty much guarantee that for groups even before Momo, okay? There were thousands of groups before Momo, you know, who definitely didn't get a messenger from their people telling them about Alalulu, okay? There was thousands of groups at the time of Momo, because that Momo only stayed in Mecca and Medina. He never went anywhere else. He never went to deepest, darkest Africa. He never went to Iceland to speak to the Eskimos. He never went nowhere else. So what about all of those groups at the time of Momo? And then you've got, as I say, the thousands and thousands of groups that were, you know, found out and established after Momo. The Red Indians in South America. The different tribes in deepest, darkest Africa. The Aborigines in Australia. They never had a messenger sent to them. So when it comes to 3971 and you've got all these bods on the bus, you know, tribal men from Africa with a pork bone through their nose, you know, Aborigines, Red Indians setting light to the bus to send a signal, you know, they're all going to turn around and say, give the same answer I will. No mush. I never had no messenger come to me talking about apples and pears and Adam and Eve and dog and bone and gore blimey and knees up Mother Brown. No mush. Never. And so then they're going to have to say, well, sorry, then you can't come in. We can't allow you into hell. What is Alalulu going to do? Poor Alalulu. What is he going to do? There's only two options for him. The first option is to destroy Islam by abrogating the verse and then putting the Day of Judgment back a couple of thousand years so he can send messengers to everybody, meaning Muhammad wasn't the last messenger and the Quran wasn't the last message, disproving it all. Or he can let each and every one of us into Jannah. And give us all 72 Auris, which means he's going to have to go back into hell, take out all the women that's in hell, because he's going to need thousands and thousands of more Houris for all us disbelievers. Oh, poor Alalulu. Seriously, that man is going to have one great big headache on the Day of Judgment, isn't he? You know, he's going to pull up in his bus outside L, you know, expecting L to take all his 60 billion passengers, and the majority of his 60 billion passengers are all going to be turned away. And he's going to have to put them back on his bus and drive them all to his Jannah. Oh, God. I can't wait to hear what he's going to say to Momo. You know, I can't wait to hear what excuse he's going to give to Momo on that day. Anyway, it's a shame no one's come in again to my stream. I think it went up to 5 people at one point, which is my normal viewing figures. I don't want to keep it going too long because otherwise it takes hours for it to be downloaded, and I'd rather people see it. So I think I'll end it here. I might come back on later tonight just to give a quick update, which will be even quicker than this one because I've already been here 45 minutes already, and I didn't really want to be that long. It's a shame, really, as I say, that people don't come into my streams, because if more atheists and Christians and other people like that came into my stream to support me, then more Muslims would come in. And of course, as more Muslims come in, they could click the link, I could bring them up and I could discuss this with them. And it would be more enjoyable for everybody. But unfortunately, I'm not as good looking as God Logic, my teeth aren't as white as God Logic's, so when I smile, I don't dazzle everyone like God Logic does, and so clearly they'd rather just go to his channel, in their 20s and 30,000s, and none of them come to my channel, even though, as I say, I've seen loads of his, and it always seems to be the same topic. What's the Injil? Is Jesus a Muslim? And that's about it. I do a different topic nearly all the time. Nearly all the time I do a different topic. Even when I've got a good topic, I still don't do it for weeks, months, years. And also, I wouldn't insult my Injil and my Jesus by even asking those questions. Because as far as I'm concerned, that is the biggest insult you can do as a Christian, to ask that question. Was Jesus a Muslim? And what is the Injil? As a Christian, it's quite simple. Jesus was never a Muslim. Jesus would never be a Muslim. He's never, he's not even a Catholic or a Protestant, so to say is really disgusting. But even to say Catholic or Protestant is disgusting. He came for the whole world. He's not a religion. He is God. And then there's also to say, as I say, to then downgrade his book as well, the Gospel, and ask what is the Gospel. As far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't even be asking a question like that as a Christian. What you should be doing is telling people the Gospel is the Bible we have today, the same Bible that was there at the time of Jesus Christ and hasn't been changed for the past 2,000 years. And if someone wants to disprove that, come and disprove it. They won't, they can't. So, but anyway, that's enough ranting and raving about people who get thousands of followers just because they're beautiful, and I don't because I'm ugly. There you go. As I say, if anyone does come across this and they fancy using 14.4 and 3971 before I get the chance to get my TikTok up and running, please do so. All for the glory of the Lord God Jesus Christ. But that's basically what I'm going to be doing over the next week, getting my TikTok up and live and running so that I can do these two topics. 14.4, every nation got a messenger sent to them from their people speaking their lingo. 3971, if you didn't get a messenger sent to you from you speaking your lingo, speaking your dialect, then you ain't going to be allowed into hell. Where are you going to go? Allah's going to have to take you to his house and let you sleep in his bed. All right, so God bless you all, 3 of you who actually came and stayed to listen to the rantings of an old man. God bless you all. Peace of Christ to you all. As I say, I may come back again later to try it again and see if we can get any Muslims to come up and answer why did Allah make such a huge mistake in Surah 39, Ayah 71 of the Quran. Peace of Christ to you all. God bless you.